Fantastic. First off, thank you very much, Ray, and welcome to this webinar, everyone. My name is Dai Giet, and I am the co-founder and chief research officer at MineMR. For those of you who do not know of MineMR, we are a research and consultancy company. We provide primary research both through traditional and emerging methods. What I'd like to start with today is to walk you through ways to leverage realities as a research tool, particularly for concept testing in virtual reality. For many of us, VR feels very much like an emerging technology of today, but some may or may not know is that VR has been around since the 1960s. That's actually when the first VR headset became available. But the recent years have been most pivotal for the VR and its development, largely due to the innovation economy that we currently live in, and of course, all of the huge investments in the technology by global enterprises. With that, I want to briefly set the stage with the market dynamic and what it means for businesses and researchers today. It is undeniable that technology advancements happening across industries, from mobile devices to the progression of technological capabilities, changing consumer behaviors and pushing businesses to innovate faster. In today's connected world, consumers have access to limitless information and options, requiring products and services to be personally relevant more than ever in order to actually break through the market clutter. And of course, not to mention, there is that rise of a new generation of on-demand and online natives having new demands and expectations. These dynamic forces require brands and market researchers to evolve and adapt new approaches to understand consumer feedback. Virtual reality offers a simulated, hyper-realistic environment for space and prototype testing that has potential to really deliver on some of these growing needs that I briefly mentioned. In the following slides, we'll discuss virtual reality, its use as a research tool, concept simulation capabilities, functionalities for data collection, and lastly, we'll cover some examples of VR use cases. As I mentioned earlier, VR is an emerging technology, very much still in development, so limitation exists, which myself, Jason, and Steve will be discussing today. But the good news is, like with any disruptive technology, is to rapidly evolve in both hardware and software. The capabilities and applications are becoming much better and, of course, becoming much more cost-effective. So what is virtual reality? In short, VR is an immersive multimedia. VR, in essence, is a computer-generated simulation of a three-dimensional image or environment that can be interacted with in a seemingly real or physical way by a person using a special electronic equipment, such as a head-mounted display with a screen inside or gloves fitted with sensors. Users can experience VR through the senses of sight, hearing, touch, and even smell. The photo on the right there is from this year's CES convention, a huge consumer electronics show that happens in Las Vegas at the beginning of every year. The picture itself shows attendees' high level of engagement as they ride a virtual wooden roller coaster delivered in VR. I was very grateful to be able to attend CES, and for me, it was a sight to see watching participants scream as if they're actually on a real wooden roller coaster, but in reality, they're all just sitting in a chair with a headset on, which leads us to the next slide. So VR's current core strength is its unmatched level of interactivity. Its unique ability to fully surround and engulf the user in an experience far surpasses that of any medium before it. For those of you who have tried VR, you'll have experienced its ability to make users feel transported through hyper-realistic computer-generated simulations, images, and videos. But like with anything, currently there are some limitations with VR, including the slow consumer market penetration, which requires research with VR to be facility dependent until there's mass adoption and respondents can actually use their own equipment, like with the online survey methodologies. Secondly, content and simulations are limited to short-form experiences due to the current processing power, data usage, and programming time and cost until much further development. Last, but of course certainly not least, the experience in VR can be disorienting for some users, which can somewhat be addressed through the programming and design, but there are implications for research sampling and respondent onboarding need to be considered with research in VR. VR's interactive concept simulation capabilities is a huge asset for its use as a research tool to understand customer feedback. Its design capabilities can range from game-like visuals to understand the experience and decision process, to photorealistic visuals to capture creative reactions and impact. This evolution in concept simulation capabilities enable researchers to better capture and close the gap in respondent concept comprehension and with real-life experiences for consumer feedback. The ability for users to interact with the concept simulations allow for the traditional memory-based or intent-based response typically included in the traditional methods of testing. So how does VR stack up against traditional concept testing? The next few slides will compare VR with traditional methods in 3 areas: testing materials, respondent experience, and data collection. For testing materials, traditionally photographs and descriptions are used in testing. Real products are sometimes used but rarely unavailable during the concept stage. For this reason, while traditional methods are valuable, there is risk in respondent comprehension between the concept stimuli and actual concept experience in market. VR's realistic 3D mockups and the add-on ability to showcase interactions with the concept can help close the concept comprehension gap for more meaningful feedback. For respondent experience, traditional online quantitative methods provide low engagement settings for respondents, typically facing a small monitor, open to distractions and personal interpretation from a 2D concept stimuli, while qualitative methods provide a removed group setting, typically in an enclosed facility, seated discussion with limited concept interactions, and open to the risk of groupthink. With VR, leveraging a head-mounted display, VR provides a 360 degrees immersive enclosed setting where respondents can feel free to explore and react to new concepts. The experience provides a deep respondent engagement but can be disorienting for some users. Let's take car concept testing as an example. Traditional methods would showcase a number of images and descriptions, then proceed to questions and discussions. With VR, you can showcase a mock-up of the concept car in a natural setting, for example, a showroom, where participants can review specs and interact with the concept in more engaging ways, such as review it from any desired angle, take a seat inside the car, open the trunk, change the vehicle color, and so forth. In VR, we have the ability to program prompted tasks, such as ask for vocalized feedback in response to a survey question in different areas of concept exploration. For data quality and analysis, traditional methods leverage memory-based recall and intent-based response, which can be unreliable and offer limited learnings without deeper context. Whereas in VR, the active environment solicits reactive behavioral response and allows us as researchers to understand the review process, to see and hear from the perspective of the customer. In terms of what we can get out of VR, the back-end elements, data collection capabilities include both quantitative and qualitative data output capabilities. Quantitatively, we can capture respondent-level data in Excel, much like the traditional data output for processing and analysis. Metrics can include attention tracking data, time spent by task, sequence of behavior, and any in-scenario survey questions, such as overall appeal and whatnot, that we program within the environment. Qualitatively, we can capture localized audio feedback and recorded video of the visual journey from their eyes. This can be valuable for understanding reaction context and also the emotional response. Next, you'll see a few examples of learning outputs from VR. In this first example, leveraging the sequence of behavior data that can be collected in VR, we can define a roadmap for product review. By understanding where does the journey start, what components are reviewed, and in what order, such sequence behavior is valuable for understanding in-store shopping process and for practical learning to help optimize space and service environments. Next, the attention and time tracking data from VR can be translated into heat mapping analysis to help uncover attention drivers. In this simple example, we can see that the respondents spent much more time reviewing the vehicle's model and base cost than the power and speed specs. Now, if we were to conduct the same analysis between genders, it can help identify varying subgroup nuances that can help guide communications planning. Last but certainly not least, audio recordings of respondents walking us through their in-the-moment point of view and reactions can be leveraged to help better understand the thought process and provide context into the reaction of the concept to add further depth and color to research learning. In this example, we capture which interior features are most attention-grabbing, and we can hear the respondent vocalize the specific features that is most impactful from design to perceived functional benefits. Now we'll cover some examples of research with VR use cases. The first application is in avatar and character development for specific kids' games. The VR medium is a great fit for interactive character development as it allows us to showcase personality, demonstrate any special abilities, and understand emotional response through character prototype experience and interaction. Also, the scalable design within VR allows us to test and track various features, look, feel much more compared to the setup from online surveys and focus groups. Another use case for research with VR is with in-store display testing to understand in-environment responses. Leveraging VR simulation capabilities, we can help reduce the timeline from ideation to prototype development. With in-store display testing, we can capture the visual journey from entrance to checkout to understand the impact of promotional displays and uncover attention drivers to assist in product and shopping process optimization. Last but certainly not least, another use case for VR is in commercial space optimization. This allows us to have an interactive concept development environment where we can understand the concept potential, fine-tune overall layout, and also gauge emotional response. Here we have a mock-up of the new McDonald's layout before it was even built. So testing it in VR allows the respondent to really walk around the environment, enter the environment, to really understand where and how the potential setup could impact for planning purposes. Other than that, that pretty much wraps up my section of the webinar. And with that, I will hand it back to Ray to keep the show going.